Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime Symbol, and today I'm going to be giving you part 4 of What If Naruto Was a Ruthless Prodigy with Kurama, guys. Remember to get this one too 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform, and also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episode over on Anime King and Anime King 3, guys. If you're new, yes, I indeed have 3 more channels which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. I will leave all the link down in the description, so go ahead and obliterate that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. So yeah, without further ado, or wasting more time, and don't forget to turn on the bell notification because I do post a lot. So yeah, let us jump right into this brand new episode. Let's begin now, guys. So the last part that we left off, Naruto was situated within the forest, training on his own. After all, he was a lot more advanced than the other two, and he was working on something dangerous, to the point that he exhausted himself. That is when Haku arrived. Seeing Naruto, he believed him to be a threat, and this was the opportunity that he was in need of to take him out. The problem was, Haku decided to spare Naruto's life, as he did not take it right there and then, and that was his mistake. Naruto was a censor. The moment Naruto flipped over, Haku wasn't prepared. Naruto dropped him down and held his arm behind him, as he told him to tell him what he knew. Where was Zabuza? However, being the loyal subordinate, Haku refused, not wanting to give up a thing. But Naruto wasn't about to let that slide. He started to apply force, more and more and more. Haku started to squirm as things started to get bad. Naruto snapped his arm. However, Haku still refused, causing Naruto to think back upon when he made him think that Sakura and Sasuke was dead. It was the same thing once again. Naruto blacked out. It was Kurama that had to wake him, as Naruto was in the process of ending Haku. He stopped himself as he returned back to the house with the unconscious bloody Haku, Kakashi looking rather shocked. Naruto went to his mindscape to understand what was going on with him. Kurama told him that over the years he has been able to control his emotions so well. The problem was, he wasn't used to any of this. Friends, people to actually worry about, and it was affecting him emotional wise. Therefore, his body was reacting instead of his mind, because he blacked out completely, and if Kurama did not do something, Haku would have been dead. As Naruto wanted a way to solve that, Kakashi and him spoke afterwards, as Naruto had an idea. He tried to kill Haku, but he missed on purpose. That is when Naruto realized. He spoke to Kakashi and asked him how he dealt with things like this. He gave Naruto some much needed insight as Naruto split Haku's throat, realizing that he would never give up Zabuza, but it doesn't matter because he already knew where he was. They allowed the other two to remain behind as they made their way. Arriving, they found the man. However, Naruto also found something else. Where Gato and his people were. This was the opportunity that he was looking for. They could end this right here and now. Kakashi gave him the order to do so as Naruto set off the explosive and brought down the entire small island. The entire castle was blasted to sunders, as Zabuza was put to an end by Kakashi as well, as Naruto took the blade. They returned back to the village, new and improved, having gone through a lot, and Naruto, having experienced a lot as well. Sakura was confused when she got more than expected, but the Hokage explained that Naruto split the profits for all of the bounty on their heads between them. She was surprised to hear that. As time passed by, they became closer and closer, more friends. Team 7 was sent on a mission as things went crazy really quickly. Sasuke activating his Sharingan as they fought Suyen, who defeated both him and Sakura until Naruto arrived. That is where Naruto pulled off a technique that he's been working on his own. Ghost Step he call it. Able to use wind to move distances with really short amount of time. And there was no sound like a ghost. Suyen was still more powerful than him though, as he drank the hero water. Naruto ended up damaging himself, but in the end, he removed Suyen's head. Kakashi arrived as he had returned back to the village to see all three of them as the other two were helping Naruto up. It brought a smile to his face, seeing how well they were getting along. Some time passed after that, as everyone was getting ready for the upcoming exams. Even Sakura had a lot more confidence. If you would have asked her in the past, she would have said that she wasn't ready for it, but now, things were different. She believed that she was ready to take on the challenges ahead of her. As for Sasuke, he was ready from day one. Naruto was training to strengthen his blows. However, in order to do so, he had to damage his hand over and over and over again. That is when someone arrived, an old man with a cane. He tossed Naruto a scroll that contained some powerful jutsus. He told him to do well within the exams, leaving Naruto confused. After all, things like this wasn't free, and he had no idea who that man was. So yeah guys, basically last we left off, you guys can switch across the playthrough of yourself. So we jump right into this brand new episode. Let's begin now guys. Team 7 has been doing a lot. Kakashi already informing his team about the upcoming exams and that they needed to prepare for it. He nominated them without a second thought. So they have been training a lot, taking a week off of mission during the last 2 weeks left for the Chunin exams. However, with the remaining 3 days they had until the exam begins, Kakashi figured they need to rest to allow their bodies to adjust to what they have been doing, all they have been doing. However, he knew that not all of them would take his word to heart. Well, it seems like he was wrong. Absolutely none of them listened to him. He thought at least one would. However, none of them. Kakashi felt pride, as he looked at his students. Each of them off on their own, even Sakura. While Naruto and Sasuke had grown exponentially, Sakura was a bigger success to him. And the reason was simple. When she first joined the team, she wasn't really much, nothing at all. However, in just the span of a couple of months, not only has she gotten stronger, but her mindset was completely different. Granted, she wasn't as strong as the other two. However, she was on a completely different level than she was before, and that made him extremely proud. However, it was hard to put most Genins against Sasuke. His ability with the Sharingan gave him an additional boost. However, his rival to pass Naruto in every possible way was making him push himself to the literal extreme, time and time again. Naruto on the other hand, there wasn't most people you could put him up against in his own criteria and his own rank. Maybe a high level Chunin, perhaps above that. Granted, Kakashi had no idea what he was fully capable of now. However, every single time, the child was able to surprise him time and time again. At the moment, training ground 24, there was many logs that was situated nearby. A blue light could be seen. It was moving at such an incredible speed. The blue light was weaving in and between the logs until it seemed to lose focus and crash, tearing through the ground, creating a huge trench as Naruto could be seen lying on his back, his red hair sticking to his face. His body was drenched in sweat. He was taking in deep breaths. Now, it wasn't normal for someone like him to be exhausted. However, given what he has been doing, the reason was there. Naruto had created his first successful technique, the ghost step, by using two other techniques to create something that never existed before. Upon Kakashi finding out about this, the man was truly astonished. However, Naruto techniques were abnormal than most others. The amount of chakra that it took was great, but he had it to back it up. However, that wasn't the only technique that Naruto was working on. And right now, his back was a mess. Several cuts and lacerations. From the shoulder going down. He could not move without feeling excruciating pain. As he simply lay there, deciding to rest off a bit, make himself healed. Within the mindscape, Kurama was able to witness what was going on, sense and feel. If the child was able to pull this off perfectly, Kurama doubted that there would be any limitations that he could not break. What he was working on was truly spectacular, something that would go down in the ages as one of the most powerful techniques amongst mankind. And Kurama has been around a very, very long time, and he can testify to that. However, what he was working on was not normal, nor was it easy to pull off. Over the past few months alone, Naruto had broken his arm 3 times, shatter every bone in his legs at least 8 times, breaking a dozen ribs. He had mutilated himself over and over because of training accidents. Luckily, he had 2 swords to help him back to his feet. The boy took mostly after his mother. Powerful Uzumaki genes. It is said that a full Uzumaki was capable of shaking the heavens themselves. Tied in with their Fuinjutsu and their physical attributes, it is said that they were boundless. There was a reason why the clan was wiped out after all. And this boy, given his red hair and his genetics, he took mostly after his mother. He possessed a fine-tuned regeneration healing ability that was truly top level, even without Kurama. Adding in Kurama's chakra, he could heal without weaving a hand sign. And he was just getting more and more stronger. The intensive training was dangerous, but it was going to help him in the long run. And Kurama felt proud of him, being here and watching the boy progress. He felt like a soothing mentor, watching over his student, and he was growing exponentially. It's only a matter of time before the entire world realizes what has been hidden under their nose the entire time. After all, it was already starting. Meanwhile, Sakura Haruno was exhausted as well. She wanted to expand her chakra reserves. To do so, she had to use it and allowed it to build back up over and over and over again, which requires some intensive training. Sakura had taken a drastic change, cutting her hair, not to mention her body had grown a bit lean. All of this training and also eating properly, something she did not like to do in the past because she wanted to look slim for Sasuke, but now things are different. As she lay on the ground, knowing that she wasn't the only one training, that they were all doing the same. They were all motivating each other by just being there, by just doing their thing. She had no idea when they all became so close, but Team 7 was like a second family for her now, and she wouldn't let her weakness let them down, as she forcefully got back to her feet. Meanwhile, Sasuke couldn't believe that he pulled it off. There was 10 targeting posts around him, and each of them had a kunai buried in the dead center. Sasuke was in the center of the ground, his hands empty. None of the weapons had missed, his Sharingan observing each and every one of them. There was a smile on the Uchiha's face, two totem in both of his eyes, as he reached up and clenched his fists. Time skip. Naruto was making his way, his clothing as usual, mostly grey and black. However, he had a new ensemble. There were black fingerless gloves on his hand, with Fuinjutsu markers that were carved into the center. And they were on the metal plating on the back as well, where the knuckles were. What they were for, most people wouldn't know. He was making his way calmly. He was about to get his sword back, bringing it back towards the forger, needing a fine-tuning, so he was on his way to retrieving his blade. As he turned down into an alleyway, he heard some ruckus. Arriving, he saw some commotion, not wanting to get involved. However, if he went around, he would have to take the long way. So he simply made his way to pass by. That is when one of the kids rushed up towards him, asking for his help. A young boy with snot coming out of his nose, asking for his help to get his friend out of trouble. The girl trying to shout at the young man to put down her friend. The young man's name was Kankuro, as he was holding up a boy known as Konohamaru. As Naruto's gaze narrowed, he's seen that boy before. He was the grandson of the Hokage. They even had an altercation as a boy had tripped over his own scarf and blamed Naruto. However, Naruto had simply walked away and choosing to ignore him, the boy believing that he won some kind of victory because Naruto had said nothing to him. However, Naruto was simply annoyed at the time. But he couldn't just stand here as a Konoha ninja and allow that person to harm him. As Naruto had immediately took stock of everything, the blonde girl, and mostly their headband. They were from the Hidden Sand. Stepping forward, Udon was glad. As Naruto stood there, Kankuro, turning his gaze away. "Let me go," Konohamaru shouted. "Be quiet, brat. I haven't dealt out your punishment yet for what you did." "Now who the hell are you?" he said, his gaze fully fixated on Naruto. However, the moment he made Naruto's eyes, he felt something chilling in his soul. It was a problem that he had because of his brother, and their eyes were so similar. It was the eyes of a killer. The first thought that popped into Temari's head was all of the guys in Konoha this cute, until she saw his eyes, and they stunned her. Her brother was a killer. He lacked certain emotions like empathy, and their eyes, despite being different shade, their eyes were just so similar. Who the hell is this guy, she thought to herself. He hadn't even said a word yet, but his eyes alone, it gave off this aura, this dangerous feeling. "Would you mind putting him down?" said Naruto, looking over his shoulder. "Hey, it's you, the one that tripped me." Naruto simply sighed as he looked back up. "Would you mind putting him down?" he asked once again. "I don't know who the hell you are," Kankuro said. "It doesn't matter if he have those eyes. It doesn't mean that he's like Gaara. Get the hell out of here before you get hurt." Naruto stepped forward. It was only one step. Kankuro couldn't help but step back slightly as Temari reached for her fan. "You're a sand ninja inside of Konoha, my village. And that boy that you're holding right there is the grandson of the third Hokage. Is this really the first impression you want to make on behalf of your village?" Snapping his head towards little punk, Kankuro had no idea that this was the third Hokage grandson. Shit, he thought to himself. As Naruto tilted his head and looked upwards, "Kankuro," a voice spoke up. Immediately he dropped the young boy. Konohamaru backed away as someone swallowed in sand reappeared on the ground. He stepped forward. "Are you bringing shame to our village?" he asked. "No, it's not like that, Gaara. It was Be quiet. His red hair similar to Naruto's. Green eyes. Gaara stepped forward. His gaze fixated solely on Naruto, as he forgot about his siblings it seems. Who are you? He asks. Naruto was quiet. It seems like he was quiet for a whole minute, but in reality it was only seconds, as he just looked at Gaara. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, he said. Tell me, who are you? Gaara. Gaara of the desert. Once again Gaara stepped forward, seeing something in this boy that he's only seen in the mirror. Tell me, Uzumaki, will you be participating in the upcoming Chunin exams? Gaara said, curious to find out more. Yes, that was all Naruto said, and Temari felt bad. She knew once Gaara took interest in someone, it was only an amount of time before they died. Even if this guy was strong or not, Gaara was a completely different monster, and there was nothing that he could do to stop that. I'm looking forward to seeing you, Uzumaki, Gaara said with a smile. However, this was no normal smile. It was bloodlusted, wicked, evil. All of that from one simple smile. As he turned and walked, his siblings following after him. What the hell was that? Konohamaru said. Hey you! But Naruto simply ignored him and started to walk. Hey! However, it did nothing as Naruto simply walked away, ignoring Konohamaru, who was frustrated. That was until Mogi punched him over the head. Is that any way to talk to your savior? She said, finding the older boy rather dreamy. He's not my savior, he's a coward that I defeated. You defeated him? But he's already a ninja, Udon said. But I did it anyway, Konohamaru said. When was this? And how did you defeat him? Konohamaru eye twitched, knowing his friend was insistive on details. However, Konohamaru truly believed that he defeated Naruto because Naruto refused to fight him when he had told him that he was the one that tripped him. Well, that was his perception of things. Meanwhile, he's a Jinchuriki, just like you. He has the one tail. I can feel the power circulating through him. It seems like his seal is not as powerful as yours, because he doesn't know that you are one as well. I see, said Naruto, as he calmly made his way. Time skip. It was finally the big day. All of Team 7 members arrived on time, as they made their way inside, confident and ready for what is to happen. Upon making their way, they handed in their papers. They were heading to room 301. However, upon arriving at the second floor, there was a bunch of people gathered. Immediately, Naruto shrugged off the genjutsu, and there was a reason for that. Given the amount of chakra that he had, Naruto could be easily taken, because that amount of chakra was hard to control. However, that was not the case here. During the past 6 months, even before that, Naruto has been learning how to control Kurama's power, little by little. His system was saturated with the Fox chakra, a lot of it, and Kurama's chakra could not easily be taken over by any normal genjutsu, along with the powerful weight of Naruto's chakra. The small, idiotic genjutsu was nothing at all. Sasuke was able to bypass it as well, immediately feeling something was off. And most people did not know this, but Sakura was an excellent genjutsu user. Small scale but still excellent. Because of her small amount of chakra, she was rather proficient in casting and also dispelling them as well. So Team 7 was fine. It seems like they're weeding out the weaklings. Let us go, said Naruto. None of them argue as they simply made their way. Naruto's gaze caught someone, a Hyuga. He doubted that the Hyuga did not see past the genjutsu. So what were they playing at? That is when he noticed a boy in the green spandex suit, who noticed them as well, but his gaze was on Sasuke. One might think that he was an idiot that had no real talent. However, Naruto could see the bruising on his knuckles, the marks on his legs. The way he moved alone, Naruto could tell that this team was something else, even the girl. Given the calluses on her hand, the marks and the scrapes, she was efficient in weapon usage. He should know. After all, he has been working extremely hard with his blade. His blade was resting on the side of his hip, strapped to his back right there. Still in his fingerless gloves, his clothing once again bland, just black and grey. His hair was pushed back, the two bangs coming down the side of his face. Neji was eyeing the group as he watched them walk past the illusion making their way. As he narrowed his gaze towards them, Lee on the other hand decided to go after them, as Neji simply stood there. When Tenten turned around, "Where the hell is he?" she said. As Team 7 entered into a corridor, "Hey you, with the eyes," Lee called out, not really knowing how to address him. However, he thought it was fitting given that he had the Sharingans. He heard about them. Lee jumped down and landed from a far distance, once again proving Naruto's theory. "I am here to challenge you, Sasuke Uchiha. I've heard all about the Uchiha clan, and I'm here to prove that hard work beat genius every single time. You've heard about my clan and yet, you still wish to challenge me. Are you some kind of idiot?" Sasuke asks. "Trust me, I am far from it. I am just a young boy, in the blaze time of his youth. So, do you accept my challenge or not?" Sasuke cracked his neck. "I could do for a warm-up." "Is this really the time?" Sakura said. "We have an exam to do." Naruto chose not to say nothing until Lee turned his gaze towards Sakura. She stepped back, wondering what's up with that weird look, as he proceeded to confess his feelings to her, literally just meeting her. He started to blow kisses which she started to dodge. On second hand, "Kick his ass," she said to Sasuke. Gladly, the Uchiha said. Lee took the rejection in stride as he charged towards Sasuke and jumped. Lee swung, but Sasuke weaved underneath it and knocked him away. Lee flipped and landed. Surprise! He dashed towards the Uchiha again as he started to throw blows. "So that's your thing," Sasuke said. "Taijutsu." He weaved in and slammed both of his hands into Lee's gut, throwing him back as he dashed forward and kicked Lee across the face. Lee flipped and scraped across the ground, looking rather shocked at the outcome. The problem was, if this was Sasuke 6 months ago, Lee would have bodied him completely. However, Sasuke has been constantly sparring with Naruto, who was a whole lot faster than him. So he had to adapt. He had to force himself to adapt, and he's done so rather well. Granted, Lee was not going all out. He started small, believing that he would have the drop on Sasuke, but unfortunately though, he was wrong. The fight did not last for long though. It was interrupted by Lee's sensei, Might Guy, who claimed that he was stronger than Kakashi. When they finally arrived, they saw their sensei waiting for them. He eye-smiled towards them. He wished them luck. Naruto was the last to enter as he grabbed Naruto's hand. Naruto paused and looked at him. "Remember, not everyone is the enemy," Kakashi told him, as he wanted to make sure that Naruto knew that, despite the exams, Konoha ninjas were still comrades. With that, he let him go as Naruto made his way inside. Time skip. Naruto's gaze was narrowed on Kabuto Yakushi rather dangerously. Being quiet and observing was always his thing, and he was observing Kabuto Yakushi. They were in the second phase, just finishing up the first phase. It was a simple test, nothing more, nothing else, with a simple twist of seeing if they would cheat or not. However, that was not what caught Naruto's attention. This member, saying that his name was Kabuto Yakushi, something was off about him, claiming that he participated several times. However, Naruto could tell that he was good. He was well trained, the way he carried himself. The sound team had attacked him, yet he faked like he was weak. But Naruto could see clearly, he was strong. Stronger than he let on. Normally you would think that he was just doing this for people to underestimate him, but he's taken this exam several times. Not to mention he's gathered a large amount of intel on almost everyone, even ninjas from outside of the village. This might seem alright to the observing eye, believing that he was just being cautious, but not to Naruto. Something was off about him. The second Proctor Uncle Midarashi started up, as Naruto felt eyes on him. However, as he turned his gaze, one of the grass ninjas were not looking at him but looking at Sasuke. There was an unnatural gaze in their eyes, trying to hide it under that large hat, but Naruto saw the eyes rather clearly. Something was not right here, he thought to himself. He was going to be cautious anyway, so it didn't make any sense. Time skip. Leaping through the forest, as Naruto had the heaven scroll securely tucked away in his pouch. Now, he said. Naruto leaned back as Sakura tossed two kunais right over his head. Immediately, three ninjas split apart, one to each side. Sakura ran as she stepped into Naruto's palm as he threw her in the air. She launched four kunais downwards. However, two of them were just a distraction, the last two. Boom! Forcing the ninjas to separate. Cursing, the rain ninjas were unprepared for them to come at them head on. They wanted to ambush them. They set a trap up ahead and swing back. Unfortunately though, the Konoha ninjas knew that they were there. Sakura landed down as she wasted no time. Earth style. She performed the earthquake jutsu as she slammed her hand down. The place shook, causing the girl to trip over her feet as she dashed forward. She punched her directly in the stomach before bringing her fist up and knocking her head to the sky. She did not stop there. She didn't allow the girl any breathing time. She dropped low and slammed a kick in her waist. The body was thrown to the left, crashing into a nearby tree. Her head hitting against it. She was out like a light. Picking herself up, Sakura stood there and secured this one. As for Sasuke, he weaved under a punch before dodging under a kick. He rolled as he came back up and stepped in the guy's knee. He then grabbed his arm and ducked under the other and grabbed the other one, pulling them apart as he flipped him with one quick succession, brutally slamming him into the ground head first, knocking him out cold. The last one, the leader, jumped away as he pulled out an umbrella. However, the next moment Naruto stood behind him and the umbrella split into two pieces and fell, broken. He looked behind him with a shocked look on his face, but it only lasted for a second as Naruto planted his heel down into his face with enough force to crush him through the nearby branch as he slammed down to the forest floor. "Is everyone secured?" Naruto asked. All of them responded affirmative. Jumping down, they started to search them. "I found it. I guess we're in luck," said Naruto, as he held up the earth scroll in his hand. Sakura smiled. "First try," she said. "Guess we're gonna get out of here sooner than later." "Not so fast," said Naruto. "The earlier plan that Sasuke had for us to go to the tower and pick off the teams that are coming there, it's still in play. Not for us though. I have no doubt in my mind that numerous teams are waiting there to ambush those with a scroll. So we're gonna have to play this smart by drawing them out," said Naruto. Hearing a hissing sound, Naruto narrowed his gaze. Sakura's eyes went wide. "Behind you!" she yelled. The distance between them was great. The problem was the snake was just so long, and not to mention large as Naruto jumped. And yet, despite him jumping, the thing still swallowed him. Not expecting this size at all, because this snake was not average. Both of them got themselves ready to stop the thing in its charge. However, it tore into the earth before it could reach them. As they ran forward as a massive, powerful gust descended upon the area, stopping them in their tracks. "Move," Sasuke yelled as the pressure hit where they stood. Sasuke's gaze snapped around until he saw something. More precise, someone. A woman. A big smile on her face as she took off her hat and tossed it to the side. A distance away, the snake finally burst out of the ground. However, the moment it did, it collapsed. Dead. The side, near to its face, was blasted open. Stepping out of it was Naruto, as he wiped the saliva off his face and flashed it to the ground, looking at the beast from where he stood. It was no normal snake. However, he simply killed it too fast. Otherwise, it would have poofed away. Thinking about it, there was only one other person that he knew that had anything to do with snakes. That was Orochimaru of the Sannin. Having read about him when he was looking about Fuinjutsu and Jiraiya of the Sannin came up, he was once a Sannin who signed a contract with the Snake Clan. However, he betrayed the village and now was an enemy. Of all people, what was a ninja of his caliber doing here? Taking off at blinding speed, his feet barely touching to take a good step. Naruto was dashing back to the area, but the damn reptile had brought him so far in just one simple dig. Leaping from tree to tree, Naruto dashed, making his way as fast as he possibly can. Unfortunately though, a grass team saw him. Kunais were launched from below. Naruto dodged and weaved out of the way as they jumped up to the branches. "Hold it right there," they said. "We're going to give you a..." The leader did not get to finish. His head was removed as Naruto landed where he stood. The other two, eyes went wide in shock. Couldn't believe what they just saw. The blade in Naruto's hand came upwards and gutted the guy on the right, before twisting and slicing through him, both half falling in different places. The last one, out of desperation, turned but Naruto already finished, going through hand sign his blade in mid-air. He fired several powerful wind bullets that drilled into his chest as he fell off the far drop and cracked his skull when he fell. Naruto jumped and caught his blade and dashed off. No hesitation, no time wasted, but that did take away a few seconds. He heard a scream as Naruto jumped in. It was Sasuke on the ground, gripping his neck in agony. Naruto's eyes surveyed the situation as he saw Sakura, blood dripping from her mouth, her head hung down. She was motionless, her body resting against a tree branch. Flashing towards her, Naruto placed a hand on her neck. His eyes closed for a brief moment until he felt her pulse. Orochimaru, face now revealed after the battle with the Uchiha, smiled towards the newcomer. "You managed to defeat my snake," he said. "Seems like I underestimated you," he smiled. Immediately, Naruto created two clones. He said nothing to the Sannin. "Wind style. Go step." Orochimaru twists out of the way as Naruto appeared behind him. The Sannin eyes widened. It was a good thing that his reaction time was on such point. However, Orochimaru reached up as his face was leaking blood. Not only did the kid aim after his neck but his other hand, he had a kunai in it to damage him either way. The Sannin was surprised. He ducked as Naruto weaved over, but he twisted and came down and launched his foot. The Sannin caught it, aiming to swing Naruto around, but he had to tilt his head as a kunai teared through his left ears. He then realized as he heard the hissing sound. Boom! The explosion went off, blowing up the branch and where the Sannin stood as Naruto flipped. As he landed on the ground, looking around, the ground cracked open as Orochimaru's hand came out. Yet Naruto pulled back and swung his blade. The Sannin came out with a blade out of a snake's mouth, clashing against Naruto's weapon. Orochimaru was shocked as he saw the transition between him and the clone. The clone was already finished as he breathed flames right in the Sanin's face. Orochimaru released a blood-curdling scream as the real Naruto stood beside Sakura and Sasuke, having swapped with his clone. Naruto watched and waited. To his shock though, the Sanin stopped screaming and started to laugh as he stepped out of the flames. There was a smile on his face. I must say, you truly surprised me, boy. I thought you were a simple waste of my time, but this is a shock that I did not expect. Not one bit. Bringing his hand up, 100 clone was created. Orochimaru merely chuckled. You think your diversion can actually stop me? Do you have any idea who I am? Yet the Sanin was not getting nothing because Naruto had not said a word to him since he arrived. As he started to gather his chakra, a large amount, Orochimaru started to cut through them, dozen at a time, slicing and butchering them like they were nothing. As he felt the massive buildup of chakra though, this amount of chakra being handled carefully. Just who in the world was this boy, he thought. He thought the Jinchuriki was nothing special, but it seems he was wrong. As the Sanin dealt with the final few clones, Naruto jumped down wing style. Wing dome, he said, surrounding the both of them in a powerful dome of wind. Orochimaru looked around, confused by this tactic. A defensive jutsu. Not just any normal defensive jutsu, but an A rank one. However, I'm not understanding how this is going to help you. Oh, I see. You plan on holding me here until your clone has escaped with the other two. The Sanin was getting frustrated because Naruto had yet to say a word to him. He was waiting on something. Orochimaru gazed and snapped around. His eyes went wide as he noticed the ground was littered with explosives. It was the clones. They were not just for fighting but to plant the explosives. The Sanin looked around as he realized if they were to go off, with this amount of wind surrounding them, it would cause a charged blast that reduced everything to dust. No, he wouldn't do that. You can't set this off, Orochimaru said. For one, if you were to do this, you would not only kill yourself, but you will also kill your comrades as well. And I doubt you would kill your comrades just to take me out. Well, if I'm wrong, prove it to me, he said, a smirk on his face. However, Naruto had yet to say a word to him, or even move or show that he was hearing him, and that was just aggravating the Sanin. Naruto had to time this perfectly. His clone was holding Sakura and Sasuke under their arms. As Naruto waited, gathering his chakra, the Sanin decided that he was done waiting. That is when Naruto swapped with his clone. You fool! You would risk killing yourself and your comrades. There's no way you can escape from that blast. The Sanin shouted at Naruto. For the first time though, it was a clone that spoke. If this doesn't kill you, when the boss does see you again, for what you did to his friends, you're dead. As the clone set off the explosions. Meanwhile, as Naruto appeared in the same spot, hooked in his arms around Sakura and Sasuke, his entire body started to take on a bluish hue. It was lightning and wind combined together. As the explosion went off, the only thing that was left in his wake was the indentation that he took from stepping so hard in the tree. A violent blast, unlike any other, ripped through the entire forest of death, alerting every single individual. It didn't matter the distance or location you were in the forest, everyone felt it. At the massive tower, all the Chunins came to a stop, wondering what the hell that was, as the entire place shook for a large amount of time. However, it finally started to settle back down as the explosion seemed to die out. Back towards with the Sanin, Orochimaru ripped out of his corpse. He was fully regenerated and fine. The Sannin looked down. Interest peaked. That brat forced him to shed his skin. A very powerful technique that could get him out of danger. A limited amount of time though, and that brat just forced him to use it. He underestimated him greatly and walked directly into his trap. If it wasn't for his technique, if he was a normal man, he would no longer exist. He was surprised, having no understanding how this child slipped under the radar. There was nothing on him. He wasn't supposed to be special. Was his spy within the village slipping? Orochimaru thought to himself. A distance away, Naruto summoned over 10 clones as they start to spread around, planting traps, making sure the area was safe. Inside of a hollowed out tree was Sasuke and Sakura. Their wounds were bandaged by Naruto to the best that he could do. He wasn't a medical ninja after all. Because he possessed 9 tails, it would be hard for him to heal someone. His chakra was corrosive. He's gonna have to find a way to get around that. As Naruto stood there and waited until the clones were finished. Some time later, Sakura started to stir. She opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was Naruto. Immediately, without hesitation, she hugged him. Her body just moving on its own. Naruto, she said, holding on to him for dear life. I thought she was so worried. She saw the snake devour him right in front of her eyes, and she thought he had died. But no, here he was alive. I'm quite fine, he said, his hands at his side as she hugged him. Pulling back, she had a smile on her face, happy to see that. As she noticed Sasuke. Is he okay? She asked, looking at Naruto worriedly. That man, Orochimaru, he placed a mark on his neck. His fever has broke, however he has yet to regain consciousness. There isn't anything else I can do for him. It's up to him to wake up now, said Naruto. Sakura released a heavy breath. This wasn't supposed to happen. He came out of nowhere. And when the time came to fight, I froze up. I was unable to do anything. He knocked me around so easily, and I passed out. Listen to me, said Naruto. There was nothing you could do. That was Orochimaru of the Sannin, a ninja, with almost the same power as our Hokage. You cannot defeat the Hokage, neither can I. That man could have killed us if he wanted to, so there's no need to put yourself down. However, we're not dead, and that means we have the opportunity to get stronger, to make sure this never happens again. You're right, she said to him. Naruto then turned his head. What is it? We have intruders. However, they're not doing anything. What do you mean, she whispered. They're just standing there. Time skip. The sound team had been there for some time now, watching and observing. It's time they finally made their move as the 3 of them jumped down. That is when Naruto stepped out. As he stood there, his gaze focused on each and every one of them. A shame that if you get in your way, we'll have to mess up that pretty face of yours, Kin said to him, holding a senbon in her hand. We're here for the Uchiha, those who spoke up. Give him to us, and we won't have to kill you. Hey, are you deaf or something? Zaku said. Give us the damn Uchiha. However, Naruto did not respond. A bit behind them, Team 10 arrived on the scene, seeing Naruto alone. Why is he alone? Where's Sasuke-kun? Where's Sakura? Ino said worriedly, however Shikamaru pulled her down. Shh! We have to assess out the situation first, he said. But he's all alone. If we don't do something, he might die. It seems like the other 2 are injured. Look, behind him. It was Choji that pointed out. If they're in there, They will be no help to him if they're injured, Shikamaru said, thinking about what to do. Ino wanted to help them. As much as they were taking this exam on their own, they were still a part of Konoha. They were all still Konoha ninjas, right? So they had to help them. However, Naruto had yet to say anything or move. Fine. Be the mute. I'll simply blast you to Kingdom Come, Zaku said, as he stepped forward, but the moment he did, a hail of kunais rained down towards them, causing the three of them to split up. Good trap, said Kin, but it wasn't fast enough. Her eyes went wide as Sakura came running at her. Sakura threw a punch. Kin brought her arm up to block it, but Sakura faded right through her. It was just a clone. Kin's eyes widened as she looked down. She turned her head behind her. There the real Sakura stood, who had just plunged a kunai directly through her back. Kin spat up blood before she collapsed, dead. As for the other two, Zaku's eyes went wide as he saw Kin drop dead. Shit, where did that one come from, he said. However, when he looked back towards the position, Naruto was no longer there. Behind you! He heard those who shouted out as he turned his arm. He screamed as his right arm was sliced clean off. Naruto then turned and jammed his feet into his chest. His ribs broke. His eyes widened as pain flooded his system. Naruto came down with him as they crashed into the earth. Zaku raised his hand up, trying to stop him, but Naruto buried his sword directly through his eyes, ending his life. He then turned his wrath upon Dosu. Dosu was shocked. That speed, he said. Shocked, not expecting any of this. He heard something as he looked at Sakura now stood behind him. Team 10 was beyond shock. What the hell? Is that really Sakura? Ino wondered to herself. That is when an ominous sensation filled the entire air. Stepping out of the Holodo tree was Sasuke Uchiha. Refreshed, empowered, more than before. Sasuke was looking at his hands as he smiled, rather happily. Naruto tilted his head as he saw the flame pattern. Those who decided to use this as he rushed past Sakura. However, Sasuke blinked away. Pure speed. Dosu was kicked violently across the face. He crashed into a tree. He got back up, however, Sasuke snapped his head to the right with a powerful punch, followed up by a gut punch, and then flipping, he slammed his heel into his chin, snapping his head upwards. Sasuke twirled before leaping down, crashing his heel on his skull. He then gripped him and lifted him up so that he could face him. With this power, I'm unstoppable, he said. However, Naruto grabbed his hand. Sasuke turned as Naruto split, Dosu throat clean open, allowing the Uchiha to drop the body. I won't allow you to kill anyone like this. Let go of me, Sasuke said. No, said Naruto. You're stronger than this. However, if you give in, if you kill someone like this, it can only get worse. I'm not sure what that mark is, but it's linked to the Sannin, and there is nothing good that involves that man. So, release this power. Snap out of it. I said, let go of me, Sasuke slapped Naruto's hand away. You're just jealous, he said, thinking that you're stronger. But as you can see, we finally even the odds. And now, you're no match against me. Sasuke, stop it, Sakura said. Shut up, he said to her. You're always trying to defend him, trying to be there for him. He looked at her. However, he was cut off as Naruto grabbed him by the face, having cleared the distance between them. You even hear what you're saying? Sasuke gripped Naruto's wrist and ripped it off, throwing Naruto's hand to the side. I told you to get your hand off me. This power, I need it. And I won't let you or anyone get in my way from achieving what I needed to do. And maybe it's about time that I show you that. The distance between us has closed, he said. The curse mark starting to tamper with his mind even more. Mess with his senses, mess with his nerves. Sasuke lashed out. Sasuke stopped Sakura's scream. Sasuke slammed his fist across Naruto's face with an incredible amount of force. Naruto staggered back slightly. The Uchiha swung once again, snapping Naruto's head upwards. And again, and again, and again. As Naruto kept on stepping back, Sasuke kept on attacking and smirking as he did so. The problem was Naruto was not bending a knee. He was not falling. Sakura couldn't take it anymore. She was about to attack Sasuke for him to stop, but Naruto held his hand out, stopping her. Naruto spat blood out of his mouth, as some still ran down his chin. Pathetic. The old Sasuke is much stronger. This mark only makes you angry and delusional. Without a focused mind, you're just all talk. And that is pathetic, said Naruto. And it's all because of that mark. But I know that you're stronger. So, snap out of it. His words were calm, and yet they reached through the haze and hit Sasuke. As he looked down towards his bloody knuckles and looked towards Naruto's bloody face, the Uchiha suddenly gripped his head and screamed. The marks on his arm started to recede as he collapsed, face first on the ground, howling in pain as the mark slowly pulled back. The process for first awakening the mark was a difficult one, and forcefully pushing it back down was also a difficult one for the first time. Sasuke was out like a light. As Naruto checked his pulse, he was alive. Sakura stepped forward, looking at Naruto's face. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm fine." "But it works," said Naruto. "He's back to normal." "Back to normal? What the hell are you talking about?" Sasuke said, getting back up. Where the hell am I?" "What happened?" he said. He looked around. "Where is he? Where's the Sannin?" he asked. They both looked at him confused. "What's the last thing you remember?" Sakura asked. "Orochimaru. Me and you fight." "Wait, Naruto, you're alright," he said. "Yes, I'm alright. But there's a lot that happened." "We'll fill you in," said Naruto. Time skip. Sasuke was angry at himself for letting himself be so easily manipulated. He did not like it. He did not like it one bit. That wouldn't happen next time. This mark. He remembered the power sensation when they started to talk about it. However, attacking his closest friend was something that he never wanted to do. Upon reaching to the tower, for the courtesy of getting Sasuke through the exam, they decided to keep the mark a secret. However, Orochimaru ran into Anko Mitarashi soon after that night, and Anko was aware and who spilled the beans to the Hokage. However, Hiruzen decided to let Sasuke participate unless the mark proved to be a great threat that he could not handle. The days flew by rather quickly. Majority of the team here were Konoha, except for a team from the rain, and the sand team as well. Sasuke seemed to be doing just fine. Fortunately, his name was the first one to be called. As the rest of the members made their way up to the podium, they were taking part in the preliminaries. As the match began, Sasuke started to be weighed down because using his chakra meant the mark was connected to his system and it would be activated, so he fought it off. His opponent was able to siphon chakra, which was one of his biggest problems right now. However, Sasuke showed a mindset that shocked majority of them, well, mostly Anko, because he fought it off. Pure will, he simply fought it off, refusing to bow to it. He pushed it away as he wiped the floor with his opponent. Kakashi went as he took Sasuke away in order to get the mark sealed up. Soon after, many matches took place, none of them noteworthy that much. Sakura's name was called, as Ino made her way down there as well. Well, Forehead, I guess it was destiny. For me to defeat you and prove that I am the right one for Sasuke. Sakura tilted her head. It was strange. It was like she was looking at herself, how she was before she started to take things more serious than before. What's wrong? Afraid to say anything, knowing that I'm going to win and you're going to be humiliated. Despite what she was saying, Ino was a bit worried. After seeing what Sakura did in the forest, things were different. She had noticed that the moment she saw her, her body looked more built and lean, like she's been trained a lot. When the proctor said for them to begin, Sakura dashed forward, her speed far beyond what Ino had and what she could react to. Sakura hits were precise and hard. The first hit jostled Ino. As their sensei, Asuma was surprised. The members of Team 7 seemed to have grown a whole lot stronger than many of the others from what he has witnessed. Ino staggered back as Sakura did not stop. 3 hits, that was all it took. As Ino was down on the ground, she looked back. A kunai was placed in her face. It's over, Sakura said. What the hell happened to you? Ino said. How could you have gotten this much stronger than me? It's not just your strength, your personality. What happened? Ino said, confused and hurt. It's simple, Ino. I grew up. Piggy, she said with a smile on her face, causing Ino to frown angrily. However, the match was called because Ino could not get away from this. Many of the others now wondering what Kakashi put his students through. Some of them turning towards the last one that had yet to fight. His name was called. His opponent was Kiba Inuzaka. It doesn't matter how strong Kakashi made them. Naruto stands no chance against Kiba, especially with his fighting style. This match is clearly his. Are the both of you ready? The proctor asked. Kiba nodded as Naruto nodded, as Kiba smirked as the proctor told him to begin. I'll do you a favor so you don't get humiliated in front of everyone. Raise your hand and give up now, and I won't have to show everyone that I'm the alpha here, Kiba said. Naruto remained quiet. Come on, Naruto, you know it's the right thing to do. I've always been one of the top in our class, while you were top 50? He said with a smirk, trying to downplay Naruto extremely. Yet Naruto did not say anything. Alright, fine, you're not in the mood to talk. But don't say I didn't give you a chance after all. I am a generous... Kiba did not get to finish as Naruto now stood behind him. Kiba collapsed face first, unconscious. Everyone was shocked. The Jonins. Might Guy eyes widened. Lee couldn't believe what he just witnessed. And yet he thought the Uchiha was a strong one. But no, this one. Lee said in utter shock. Kurama couldn't understand. Jennings shouldn't have this amount of speed. Just what in the world has Kakashi done to these kids? She was shocked, impressed, confused, all in one. All of them were. Hiruzen was not surprised. The world had no idea just how powerful Naruto was for his age. However, during this exam, they will find out. Time skip. Kiba jumped up. Alright, let's go. He looked around confused as he saw one of the nurses. Wait, nurse? What's going on? I'm supposed to be taking the exam right now. The woman looked towards him confused. You were knocked out and brought to the infirmary. Knocked out? What? But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.